Hello guys, welcome back to PyPower Projects. Now we are going to see about basics of Python programming. So let's dive deeper into Python programming and let's start our journey with Python. So, introduction to Python. Python is an interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. Its high-level built-in data structures combined with dynamic typing and dynamic binding make it very attractive for rapid application development. It's a high-level programming languages, that is, it is a very easy to read. It is also said that Python is only the language that you can read and code. The coding and the reading, it's kind of very similar, and so it is highly adaptable for technical and non-technical people. Which companies use this Python? I would rather rephrase the question: which company does not use this Python? Most of everybody, you have been seeing big names like Netflix, YouTube, Google, Dropbox, Pinterest, Quora, Uber, etc. Many companies uses Python, right? The history of Python. Python was conceived in the late 1980s and implementation was started in 89 because it was invented by Guido van Rossum. Now the current version of Python is 3.x, I would say 3.7 or 8 maybe, but now Python 2 has been closed. There is a quite little bit of difference between the syntax of Python 2 and Python 3, but the Python support has been currently been closed for Python 2. So I would rather recommend everybody to switch from Python 2 to 3, or somebody who is starting newly should work on Python 3. Installation of Python. You just need to download Anaconda distribution. There is a link we have provided here. You just need to click on the link, open your IDE, launch Spider or Jupyter Notebook, and you can get ready for your first Python code. After you just install completely into your system, the screenshot would be like this. You can go on for Mac OS, Windows, or Linux platform, and then you will go further. Okay, so now after you just completed installation in your program, you will see this window in your system. That is Jupyter, Qt Console, Spider, RStudio, and many more. I would recommend you to use Jupyter Notebook, as I'm also going to make you learn Python in Jupyter. So let's go back to Jupyter. So here is my tutorial. So let's begin with the PyPower Python tutorial on basic Python. So what contents we are going to be covered is the print statement, variables, data types, various printing methods, and strings in, so which is being followed by conditional statements, loops, parent printing in Python, lists, tuples, sets, function, recursion, a little bit scope, and then we have some special thing, that is what next. What after you learn basic Python. So we'll see later at the end of this section. So now let's begin with the Python tutorial. If somebody have not installed Anaconda yet, I will just request you to go through this link and install that. So now let's begin with the famous print statement called hello world. So print statement is nothing but if you need to print something on the user screen, we use print statement with its braces and write anything in the inverted commas, we get an idea that this thing would be printed on the screen. Here it is hello world and the print statement in Python. Simple. Now this is a kind of little bit idea of if statement. It's a condition. If you have a chocolate, then give it to me. It's like if a chocolate is with you, please provide it to me. If is a kind of conditions, right? So you just will get this thing later into this section, but still then this y is obviously greater than 2. You need to print something. You can print into the if, you can print in loops, you can print in functions, many things you can use print statement. So the similar thing, You can also write more than one print statement in a code. Now, let's move to the main part, that is comments. Comments in Python is generally denoted by two types: single line comment and multi-line comment. Single line comment is done by hash symbol. If I just write hash in front of anything, the line followed at the end, the point where the hash is placed until the end of that line will be converted into comment. That is, there will be no interpretation done for the words which has been written here. For example, I write teeth, so this is a comment, right? You can use comment in order to make your code understandable for some different programmer with some different programming background and can understand the same logic that you have written in your program. Okay, so this is a comment. What if you need to write a multi-line comments? You can also go for writing hashes in every single line, or else you can do three double inverted commas, and anything that you write between it is a comment. See, in this question or in this snippet, we have just written the comment. This is a comment written in more than just one line with just the use of three double inverted commas. In other programming languages, they use slash star and star slash. But in Python, we go for this thing. Alright, so now let's move it. So here we have just not been introduced to variables, but you can also use print statements with variables. This is just an idea we'll later discuss in this section forward. Now, you can just write in front of every line about the comment describing it what your code is. I would highly recommend beginners to follow this convention in order to know whenever you have writing that code, just write comments in the code that what this section represents. As a result of which, after a few moments of time, a few minutes later, a few days later, when you see or re-go through your code, you can just get a brief idea about what have done in this section or logic. Okay, so now let's begin with one of the most important thing, variables in Python. Variables in Python. Variables are a kind of vessels in which we store different types of values. The different types in Python are called data types. It may be integer, it may be a floating point, it may be a string, it may be character, it may be complex numbers, anything. Okay, variables have some naming conventions that you cannot name any variable in any fashion that you can, but there is some a little bit restriction that you cannot name a variable which can start with a number. Yeah, you can use numbers, you can use alphanumeric characters, but the first character of the variable must be a letter or an underscore. No special symbols or numbers are allowed as a starting point of that variable, and numbers are only allowed within the variable name, not at the starting point. So valid characters are A to Z, capital A to capital Z, small a to small z, 0 to 9, and underscore. No special characters like hash, at the rate, percentage are allowed in variable names. Also, variable names are case sensitive. Small age and capital Age are totally different values, can contain different data types, and can behave variously. Means they are independent of one another. Alright. So let's see some of the legal variable names. Some legal variable names, like my variable is John, my underscore where is John. There are some different types. This all are legal because it is starting with a letter or an underscore character. These are illegal because this is starting with a number. It has a special sign. There is a space provided within the variable name. So if I just trying to run this code, there will be the error clicked on this line. So let me run and make you see. See, this is an invalid syntax. So let me just comment this up. Another error will be there in this line. Invalid syntax. Again, I will comment this line and then we'll run this code. There is still an error in this space. So I just need to comment this off. Alright, so now we have seen which are legit variable names. So now in variables we need to assign some values, right? The normal way that we have assigned is this. This is a normal convention, writing a variable name, placing equals to, and writing something is assigning that value in that particular variable. Alright, there are some different ways also if you need to give the same value, same type of value, I would say, data type, and you can separate them by comma and write the values. The respective values will be assigned to that respective variables. For example, here, x orange will be assigned to x, banana to y, and cherry to z. You can see x, y, and z. One thing you might have noticed that every print statement prints the value in a new line. This is a point of observation. Beginners, as a beginner level, I hope that you will see this while you're programming. Alright, what if you need all the three variables or n number of variables the same value? Instead of comma, you can just place equals to and everything will be given as same values. Now, let's move to variable data types in Python. Variable data types in Python. What are data types? Data types are types of data that you can store in a variable. It can be integer, float, string, complex numbers, many things. Alright, so let's see. The normal convention is, you can see, is variable name equals to and value. You can see the type of that variable by printing the type type, and you can see the type that belongs to class integers. Class is a complete object-oriented approach. We will see later after this video. We'll conduct a special video on object-oriented Python, and in this we will see about it. But till then, understand that this variable belongs to the integer class. Alright, there can some different things with float and complex number. If you have been introduced some of a little bit of mathematics, then you would know that a plus bj is a formation of complex numbers. So I'm just going to print this up. This separation, SCP is just known as separation. You can also ignore this up. Okay, that is 1 to 8 and 1j. So it's simply printing the variables. You can see the type of the variables. It is integer, float, and complex numbers. You can also use very big numbers to represent integers. This has no limit, almost no limit. You will run out of calculations, but you will don't get such a big number to manipulate with. Alright, next is you can use floating points. Here is 1.10, 1.0. See, 1.0 is an integer for a mathematical person, but for programming persons, 1.0 is a floating point because it decides its floating precision. It is a decimal point, so it cannot be readily stored within integer memory. Absolutely. So then in this way, you can say that 1.0 is an integer, but it has been stored in a floating value. So let's see it. The type will be shown here as float. Alright. Another way for representing floating points is in the power of e. So it is 10 raised to the power, and they are also terminated as floating points. There are some complex number data types that we can see in here. A plus bj, where j is nothing but equal under root of minus 1. If you are just introduced of a little bit of mathematics, this would be not more an issue for you. The Python 3 has been very used for complex numbers because it can also provide scientific programming. Those people who are interested in scientific programming, they use this data type extensively. Alright, this class belongs to complex numbers. Okay, so now let's move to typecasting. Typecasting means casting one data type to another one. For example, I need to convert integer to floating value, or floating value to integers. What I will do is I will just place the type in front of that variable. If I need to convert x, that is integer, to floating value, I will just write float and will convert into integer. Remember, there are two types of typecasting. One is implicit typecasting and explicit typecasting. In implicit typecasting, what happens is we never lose data, we add some few points of precision into it. For example, if I'm converting integer to float, this one integer will be printed as 1.0. See, this integer will be printed as 1.0 because it has been converted into floating point. But if I convert a floating point into an integer, what happens is the precision of the float will be lost. See, this 2.99, when I convert it into integer, it just remains 2. I'm losing the data besides the decimal point. So you should be quite aware, if you go for explicit typecasting, you are surely going to lose some data. Alright, after typecasting, you can see what are the types of A, B, and C. A is float, integer, and complex numbers. That is 1j has been converted from integer to complex. Alright, now various printing methods in Python. See, we can use conventional printing method like print, parentheses, and inverted commas, and you can go for it. This is a conventional and mostly recommended method. But if you need to print out variables or need to print out values, need to print out lists, we go for some another methods of printing them. Alright, so let's see one of them. That is, if there is a variable, it has assigned some value, you can go it for this way and it will print out the value of x equals to, this is also not required, but as you can provide somewhat easiness for a user or a client, you can go for this way also. Alright, you can not just only print one variable, you can go for more than one of them. So there is x is 5, y is 10, you can individually print that thing also. Alright, multivariables are also supported in single print statements. This is the example of it. Okay, now when you have somewhat many number of variables and you need not to manage with all those commas and double inverted commas, what you do is you just write print f and you just write curly braces that x will be supported to this x, y will be supported to this y, and z will be supported to this z. So you need not to manage all the spacing part and inverted commas and many things. It will just get it done for you. All right, okay, so now let's see about separation and end. What do you mean by separation is within every comma or comma double inverted comma break, there will be a space or there will be a special character that you can place it over it. For example, in this I have three variables x, y, and z, and I have used a separation as space, hash, and space. So what I will do is within every inverted comma break there would be a hash. So you need not to manage the spaces, you can just simply do this, and even if you don't manage the spaces, you can also get it done. Means it is equally spaced print statement. So this is kind of a special feature for formatting the user output. Okay. So the same thing with this end. This slash n character denotes the new line. Whatever is just printed after slash n, it will be going into the new line. So for example, here the separation is the dollar symbol and this is the end will be printed at the n after in the new line, that means. Okay. By default, as we have seen earlier, within every print statement, the things which have been written are in the new line by itself. But within one single print statement, you can print in multiple lines as well by using the slash n characters. Okay, so this is how it goes for formatting. So let's see it. This is how it is get formatted because you have just places the braces here in order to get separated. Okay, this is another example of floating points. 1, 2.8. This is a string. Don't get it as a floating point. It has been converted to float by using the typecasting. Okay, the strings. The strings are also further typecasted. So what happens here? The S1 is converted into string. This S1 will remain strings only, but still it has been separated using and dash and. That's also simple. Now, this is a quite bit complicated. We will see it later in this section about loops. But to give you a simple idea, loops are just doing the same task again and again until and unless we tell them to stop or stop iterating. So this 1 and 5 is this one is the starting index and 5 is the ending one. It is inclusive of 1 and exclusive of 5. Okay, so if I run this thing, it is just simply printing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so for I in range, this is a common what you say it as a syntax of Python. And is equals to this means it will just continue printing with a with no space. That means in every print statement, it will not go into the new line, but it will be printing continuously. This is the only way. You can go it for separation method. This is also another way. Alright. Now we are going to introduce you with strings. Strings in Python. What are strings? Strings are a bunch of characters. Not only just words or characters, you can write a whole essay as a string. But it is not usually recommended to do so. So this is the difference. Even if you write double inverted or a single inverted, it goes on with the same concept. Alright. With a string, if you need to print it multiple times, you can use the star symbol and everything will be printed as the number of times you have multiplied with it. Okay? You can go for a spaced one, everything. You can also go for a comments can be stored as a string, and you can also paste comments on the screen in the user output. So this is the way. You can also do it using 3 single inverted commas and double inverted commas. Now, let's move towards string concatenation. String concatenation, what is string? Is a bunch of characters, and concatenating means to merge strings together. Alright, so we are concatenating, that is merging two strings using the plus symbol. For example, I need to print Python is awesome. I have one string called awesome. I will just write the plus symbol and X, it will just print Python is awesome. It has just concatenated it. Now this is a conventional way where you can access three strings, string 1, string 2, and the resulted string as a merge of them. This is also one method. Now you can you can use the plus symbol to add something for integers, but you can also use plus symbol to concatenate strings in strings. Okay, but what happens if there is an integer and there is a string? There will be an error. You cannot do so. The interpreter will get confused. What the heck is this? I cannot add an integer to a string. One must be converted into another. So let me convert this 5 into a string by placing inverted commas, and then I can add them easily. Alright. So this is a quite more little complex. What I have done is I have declared a x, and I have declared a function to do something. What function is, let me give you a basic idea. Function is a person, assume it as a person which is assigned to do some specific task. In programming, you have some logic that needs to be performed many number of times. So instead of writing the logic again and again, you will just make it place it into the function that this person means Mr. T, just perform this task for me, or Mr. Raj, perform this task for me. Until and unless it will perform every time whenever you call them and ask them to do so. Instead of writing the whole logic again, you just need to call them and your work will be done. Alright, so here its work is to concatenate strings. So Python is awesome. The function is declared and the function must be called to get executed. Until and unless the function is called into the main, so here is the main, so the function won't work. Alright, so now let's move. Here, x is awesome. I've declared once. In a function, I have declared x as fantastic, and I have told him to merge x. Now, the function may get confused that I have two x. One is awesome and one is fantastic, whom I need to merge. So, there is a convention in Python, the latest or the scope of that variable, the latest or the most specific scope of the function or some variable will be declared as final. For example, in United States, Texas chief decided that their state will give a tax of 5.5%. But the president said that there should be a tax of 6%. The Texas chief said that the 0.5% will be bared by the state government. So the person which are living in Texas just need to pay 5.5. So this x is equals to fantastic is a specific person for function. So whenever I am going to manipulate x inside this function, it will remain fantastic. And if I'm going to manipulate x outside this function here, it would be awesome. So first it will be printed as Python is fantastic, and then it will be printed as Python is awesome. Alright, now what happens if I declare this as global? Global is means everywhere, everybody has to do this. There is no chance of specificity, or there is no chance of any minor liberalities. Alright, so if I just specify with this x, it is going to be Python is fantastic. Everything is normal. Alright, now x is awesome, and I've declared it as global, and I've called the function in the both times. It will be fantastic. Okay, now let me introduce you to the conditional statements in Python. That is the if-else statement in Python, or conditionals. If-else is nothing but condition, that what if this and what if this is not available. For example, you go to a shop. You tell the keeper, give me a candy, or a chocolate, or a cake, or a piece of pastry, or if you don't have any of thing else, give me my money back. That's a simple category. So this is a kind of conditions. Alright, this is going to be a conditional game. If A is 33, B is also given 33, and if B is greater than or equals to A, print B is greater than or equals to A. Okay, so we're going to run this. This is a true condition because 33 is equals to 33. Alright, now 33 is less than 200, and I have printed as B is greater than A. Now, if you do not follow an indentation for every if-else statement, for for loops, for while loops, you need to follow indentation, because Python gives you the flexibility in order to get yourself out of this curly braces. Unless like Java, C or C++, you need to follow curly braces for every declaration of class, function, if, else if, loops, everything. So in order to get a flexibility of curly braces, you need to follow indentation, because it will give an idea up to which extent the if block is running. Okay, so let's see this. This will give you b is greater than or equals to a 33. Alright, in here I have didn't followed any indentation. So this will give you an error, that is indentation error. So what I will do is I will just put a tab, and it will get indented, and I will get no error. Alright, elif statements. What if that first condition goes wrong? We need to put some another condition. For example, when you go to a bank, they ask you, do you need a credit card? Okay, I don't need a credit card. Do you need no loan? No, I don't need to loan. So there is a condition after condition. What if the first condition goes wrong? The program must able to handle everything. So that is called brute force. But let's up to this situation. Let us see that A is 33, B is 33, C is 45, and D is 56. Okay, now if B is greater than A and A is equals to B, this is A and B are equal. So this goes to this first condition went false, so it need to handle with some another condition whether they are same or not. So if this goes on wrong, then if both the condition are going wrong, we will go for else statement. You can use multiple elif statement, you can use multiple if statement, but for every if there is only one else statement. Else cannot be multiple, else is the last condition when there is nothing available. Nothing goes wrong, then the last ever possible thing to handle is else. So you cannot have multiple else statements, you can just have one of them. Alright, for every one if. Okay, so this is one of the else statement. A is greater than B. You can figure out which number is greater than another number or equals to. There are simple examples. I'm just getting through this. They're 233, so B is not greater than A. The another type of writing if else is this. The condition, what if the condition goes true? Simple. I'm going to run this and you will get A is greater than B. Alright, this is some another way. Print A if A greater than B, and print else you need to print B. Okay, that's a kind of playing with the if else statement in some different way. But I would recommend the best programming practice is this, because it's quite understandable for another programmer as well as for you if you just go to revise your code once again. Okay, so these are just simple if else statement in different fashions, and you can write and means the both conditions provided must go true, only then the print statement will get executed. Or means a keyword with which one of the statements may go true, the condition will be executed. Okay, so here you can go for a prediction whether the number lies between which number or not. So this is the if else statement. In one if statement I have written an if else. This is nested if else. Okay, now if you need to bypass the if statement, you just need to write pass and everything after that if will go off. Okay, now we are going to introduce you to the one of the most important key things in Python. There are loops in Python. There are basically two types: for loops and while loops. While loops are manually driven and for loops are self-driven. What is the difference between them is they increment themselves automatically. They are for loops, and while loops are needed to be incremented by the programmer. Okay, so for example, I is 1, while I is less than 6, while is iterating. It will go on repeating doing the same task again and again unless this condition is satisfied. At the first point when this condition goes wrong, it will come out of the loop and everything will go into normal. So here it is, I is less than 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I plus equals to 1 is similar as I plus plus or I equals to I plus 1. Okay, so this thing. Alright, so I equals to 1 while I is less than 6, and if I equals to 3 you can break this. Break statement is used to come out of the loop, and the loop will stop iterating even if it has not broken this condition. Okay, right. So, okay, so let's begin. Here I is equals to 0 while I is less than 6. So if I equals to 3, it will continue. The continue statement is used to ignore something specifically. For example, I need not to ignore 3. I need to ignore 3. I will just write the continue statement. So whatever the execution was going on for everybody, I equals to 3 will be in a special case, and there will be no investigation going for him. And we will continue the loop, iterate it over and over. Now, there is a special convention in Python for loop and else. This is a very special concept to ensure that loop has completed. Okay, if the condition goes wrong, then it is kind of if condition which is being continuously checked. If this goes wrong, you just need to do this. Okay, I is no longer less than 6. Whenever the I reaches the sixth point, the 6 is not less than 6 because it is equal, it will go and print I is no longer less than 6. Okay, now let's move forward to another types of loop. There are for loops. Now, for loops are basically used, their self-driven perspective is a very highly utilized. So here I have taken a list. If you don't understand list, consider it as a bunch of similar things placed together and it is being referred by some one name. Here, fruits, apple, banana and cherry are just represented with this one identity of fruits. For example, students of one class are represented by the standard, that is the sixth standard have 150 students. So 150 students will be associated with the sixth standard. The sixth number is an associative property for them. So similarly here fruits will represent apple, banana and cherry. So this is a list and you need to iterate through it. So what you will go in here is for x in fruits, apple, banana and cherry, print x and you will get the answer. It is just iterating through every item in the list and placing them in the print statement. For x in banana, print x. So banana is a string, then x will become a character. So B, A and A will be printed one after another. Okay, now I need to break. I'm using the break statement. Whenever I will get banana, I will just break out and cherry will remain as it is. Apple and banana, cherry will remain as it is. If I need to continue statement, if banana comes, just ignore it and pick up apple and cherry. Apple and cherry. Now, one another variety of for loop is for x in range of something. Okay, for x is an variable, in range is an keyword, and 6 is an ending point. 6 will exclusive of 6 and inclusive of 0. By default starting index is taken as 0. So if I run this, it will be 0 to 5. Alright, you can also introduce your own starting index and your own ending index that will be inclusive of starting index and exclusive of ending index. So for example, if I have 3 to 7, then it will be 3, 4, 5, 6, but not 7. 7 will be excluded. Okay, so let me just print this thing. You will get a better idea. 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, the incremented is done by self with 1. What if I need to increment by 2, 3 or some another number? You can also write your leap index as n minus 1. So every third element will be picked up. Okay, so for 230, 2 to 30, it will be 2, 3, 4 and 5. So every third element, 2 will be picked, 3, 4, 5. The fifth element will be picked up and similarly it will go on forever. Okay, until the ending index. Okay, so there is some error. Oh yeah, I have just placed comments. Okay, so it is 2, 5, 8, 11 and every third element will be picked up. Okay, so same with going with for while loops, the same have with the for loops. You can use the else statement if this things goes wrong. Where if the x goes to 6, finally it is out of the condition and it will print something for you. Okay, now nested for loops. Identify there are two lists. I need to iterate through both of them indicating the properties of every list. Okay, so you can consider it as matrix. The zeroth element will associate itself with the zeroth first and second element of the underlying list. Okay, so here it is adjective and fruits. So here it is red apple, that is 0 0, red banana 0 1 and red cherry, that is 0 2. Similarly with big and tasty. Okay, this is a kind of concept of for loops and nested for loops. Okay, this is a pass function. You can bypass this and directly it has been iterated, but you just passed it and it is going to finish. Okay, so now let's move on towards pattern printing in Python. Okay, pattern printing is a exercise kind of for beginners for who are introduced to for loops and while loops. This will boost your understanding and thinking skills of making patterns using computer. Okay, if you just go for multiplication, this is a string, you go for multiplication, it will just print 5 times 3 times 5. But if I remove it from string to integer, it will just go for 15. Same goes for strings and lists. Okay, now if I need to make a right angle triangle with the help of stars. So the first row will have 1, second row will have 2, third will have 3, 4 will have 4, and 5 will have 3. Okay, so this is the how logic works. 0 to I plus 1. It is concept of nested for loops. Okay, a star pyramid. This is an example of star pyramid. Okay, now downward triangle of stars. You can go it for this is nothing but a 6 cross 6 matrix, and in which you need to figure out where to place the stars. Okay, now you need to make numbers triangle. Numbers triangle means at the first one will be placed once, two will be placed twice, three will be placed thrice, four times, and five times. Okay, so now we will see for inverted. So what it gets? 1 5 times, 2 4 times, and that way. So this is a good programming practice for those beginners who have started playing with for loops and while loops. Okay, make your mind calm and think how this logic would work. Okay, now next topic is bool function. Bool function is returning the boolean value to decide whether things exist or not exist. Okay, or whether the things are true or false. Boolean is also a data type in Python. So Boolean is represented by capital TRUE and two values in it, true or false. Okay, true, this is case sensitive, you cannot place it as small true. Okay, it will return true if the values are going true. If 10 is equals to 9, no, it will return false. 10 less than 9, no, it will return false. Okay. Similarly for each statement here, actually it is returning true, in order which this print statement is getting executed. Okay. Now here, if values existed, every value existence will return true, and every no value will return false. This all will return true. But if there is a false, the boolean of false will be false, boolean of null, 0, no characters, null set, null list, or null tuple will give you false, my dear. Okay, so now it's a class game. So it's just a simple, if you have object and an object is reference to nothing, this will go for false. Okay, function. If function is returning false, then it will also print false. Okay, so now it will print yes as per the logic. My function existed, I have called that function, is returning true, and if true, it will print yes, else it will print false. Okay, this is an is instance of x. If x is initiated, then it will print true, and if x is not initiated, it will print false. So now let's go move towards some data types in Python, that is lists. Lists in Python. Lists are a kind of special data structures where you can manipulate everything. List is the most flexible data structure in Python as for beginners. List, you can iterate through the list, you can print the list by this print function, you can print some specific element by using the index. This is the 0th index, this is the first index, and this is the second index. Similarly, you can go for negative indexing, the -1, -2, -3. Banana. Okay. Slicing. Slicing in a list, it means you are just cutting some part of the list and placing it aside. Okay. So here it is from 2, that is the starting index, to the 5th element. 2 and inclusive of 5. Exclusive of 5. Sorry. Exclusive of 5. So it will start from 2, 0, 1th index, second index, and it will go till the fourth index exclusive of 5, or the fifth element, 1 2 3 4 fifth. So cherry, orange, and kiwi will be my answer. Okay, if you don't specify your start index, it will be taken as the beginning. If you don't specify your end index, it will be taken as the end of the list. You can also go for negative indexing, but make sure that this values do not interchange, because everywhere the start index must be lower than the ending index, unless it will give error. Okay, you can replace the elements of the list, unlike some other structures like tuples where you cannot manipulate the values. Okay, so this is the answer. You just manipulated banana to blackcurrant, it is overwritten, and you're getting the new list. Okay. Okay, so checking elements in the list using the int function. We have been introduced to use this in for loops. For x in this list, every item will be fetched and printed. If you need to know whether instead of writing this for loop, you can just write an if statement if apple is in this list or not. Simple, it will automatically iterate through the list and you will get the answer. If you need to know the length of the list, use the length function. You explore more, you will get more functions. Some more functions are append, insert, remove, copy, pop, and delete. Okay, appending things will append at the end of the list. For example, I've appended orange in here. Now, if you need to insert something at a specific index, you need to specify the index and the value. Here I am entering orange into the first index, that is the second element, instead of at the last by using the append function. If I need to remove something from the list, use remove things. Okay, now popping and deleting things in the list. Popping things. It is just popping the last index. Assuming it as a stack, the things which are placed later will be pulled out first. That is last in and first out concept. Okay, so now if I use deleting the list, the elements will be no longer be able to available. It has been completely deleted. Okay, if you delete the entire list, you won't be able to access the list name even. It's like deleting the entire folder with all the files and clearing all the files in the folder. So deleting means deleting the complete list. You will not even able to fetch the list name. If you clear the list will be empty, but you can access the list. As you can see in here. Okay, now you can copy the elements of the list from one to another. For example, there is a this list and I have created my list by copying. By copying, both the lists are associated. If you change in any one of the list, the another will also get reflected with the same. So in this way you can copy this list. If you need to create a complete new list which are independent from one another and have some copied elements, you can go for list function. Okay, and you can get listed. Okay, if you need to merge this list or concatenate list, you can use the plus symbol. The list will be concatenated as ABC and 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can also use for loops that every elements in list 2 will be appended at the end of the list 1. Okay, this is also a valid approach. Alright, now if you need to, in order to extend that list, you can use the dot extend function instead of writing this for loop or this list 3 equals to list 2 dot plus 1. You can use the dot extend function, but the limit is that you can just use extend up to 2 lists. Okay. Now, if you need not to declare list like this fashion, you can also use the list function by converting this kind of pair of values into a list. This is a list. Okay, we have completed the list thing. Now we will move for Python tuples. Tuples are slightly different from lists. The main disadvantage of tuples is they cannot be manipulated. You cannot manipulate the values unless they are in tuple. Okay. They follow the same function. You can create this tuple, printing them, accessing the elements of them. You can print with negative indexes also. You can even slice them. You can also slice them with negative indexes, but you cannot change them. This is the drawback. If you need to change them, convert that tuple into list. Here I have converted the tuple into list. Now change the list and again convert that list to tuple. So there will be a changed tuple. So it is like A to B, B to C, C to B, and C to A. It's a round robin fashion. This is very exhaustive method. So if you need to manipulate things, go for a list or set. But if you need have some static things into something, it won't change for much time. You just go for tuples. Okay. You can iterate to the tuple using for loop. You can also use that if something is there in the in function, and you can also use these things also. For length of the tuple, you can go for length function. As I mentioned earlier, tuple cannot be changed, so if you just need to try to append something into the tuple, it is also not possible. Gives an error. Alright, I need to comment this up to remove the error. Okay, so this tuple is an apple. You can go for type. This is a string. Okay, this is a string, but this comma indicates that there may be something, so it's a tuple. Okay, belongs to class tuple and belongs to class string. Okay, you can delete the tuple and you cannot access the elements of the tuple, even its name, if you use the delete function. If you use the clear function, the tuple will be clear. But there is no use of using clear function because you cannot append anything into the tuple. They are finals. Okay, you can merge two tuples in this fashion. Okay, now you can print this tuple. You can create a tuple by using this pairs, and tupling function will be able to create it into a tuple. Okay, so up till now we have seen lists and tuples. Now let's move towards sets in Python. Sets are kinds of sets that we study in mathematics. They are sets. Here the set is a property that a list with no duplicates elements is a set. Okay. Now, set has similar functionalities as list, but it's a little bit different than it. Okay, so you can print the elements of the list sets. You can use the curly braces for set. Okay, you can iterate through the set using for x in the set, and you can print them. You can also print whether that is existing. You can check whether this element is existing in the set or not. Okay, you can update the sets easily. You can add something into the list, but into the set, but the disadvantage is it will place it as it feels. It will place it as it feels. You have no control over it. You can update the sets, you can append them, you can find the length of those sets, you can even remove certain elements, you can discard certain elements. Okay, you can pop things out. The pop things will be from the first. It follows a queue kind of thing, that is first in first out. Apple was the first, it will be popped first. Okay, while in list it was like LIFO concept, the last element will be popped first. Okay, but in here it is going from, it's like a queue. The first person to enter the queue will be the first person to leave the queue. Similarly, you can clear the set and you can also recreate them. If you delete the set, you cannot recall them. If I just remove this comment symbol, I will get an error. Okay, so you will go for some operations on some sets. Okay, you can perform a union operation. As you go for mathematics, you union some of the sets into one thing. Okay, you can even update the sets by using the dot update function. Okay, now you can also make a set by using converting this pair of list pair into a set by using the set function. You will get the same value. Okay. Now I've just mentioned a few tastes of the functions that you can use on sets. But there are some different methods which are used, that is add, clear, copy, difference update, discard, intersection, and many more. You need to explore more, you need to play with them, and you will get a better idea. I cannot cover each and every single function, then I would get to make a separate video on them. So I would apologize for the same and would ask you to follow each and every function for your better understanding. Okay, so now we will move forward for dictionaries in Python. Dictionaries are nothing but a key value pair which is again named with some another thing. It's like Oxford Dictionary, in Oxford Dictionary there is a word and a meaning associated with it. So the word is key, meaning its value, and the whole Oxford Dictionary is that the name of the dictionary. Okay, so this dictionary has three keys: brand, model, and year, with three values associated: Ford, Mustang, and 1964. You can print this dictionary, you can print the value of that certain key. Here X will be given the value of that model, that is value of model is Mustang, so you will get the value Mustang. Similarly, if you need not to write this, use this variable, you can just write this thing. Okay, now if you need, you can manipulate the value of that thing, value of some key, by using this. You can just manipulate. I've just manipulated 1964 with 2018. Okay, you can iterate through the dictionary. It will just iterate through the keys of the dictionary, not with the values. If you need to iterate through the values, you need to print them up as this thing. We are now iterating to the values, that is Ford, Mustang, and 2018. Okay. Now you can also directly iterate to the values and get avoid writing by using the dot values function in the for loop. We are just directly using the same thing with some different logic. Okay, if you need to place the whole dictionary without writing this print statement, you can go for X and Y and you can use dot items. It will be just printing key, value, key, value, key, value. You can also add or remove some values into a dictionary. You can also find whether the key is existing in the dictionary or not. Like you can go for list, for apple in this list, print yes or no. Similarly, if model in this list or this dictionary, yes or no. Okay, you can find the length. Length will return the number of keys associated. Okay, now you can add something, that is you can add a key or attribute to the dictionary. Yes, I've added attribute color and named it as red. Okay, you can use the popping thing by placing the name of the key. Now the model has been removed. Okay, you can pop item. The pop item will remove the lastly or latestly placed value. Here year was the latest. It's like LIFO concept, the last in will be first popped. Okay, so now you can delete the complete key and value by using the delete function. You can delete the whole dictionary, but after deleting you won't be able to access its name. Okay, if I just remove this comment, I will again get an error. So in order to remove this, I need to just not able to access the name of this dictionary even. I can clear this dictionary if I need to reuse it again. The dictionary will place it empty. Okay, if I need to copy the dictionary to some another dictionary, you can go on for copying it. But remember, if you go for copy function, both the dictionaries are associated with it, and if you change in one of them, the later one would get reflected with that change. So if you need to create a whole independent with copied items, use the dict function. It will convert the dictionary into the another one, which both have been placing individually. Now dictionary into a dictionary, we are just making a dictionary into one another dictionary. How so? We can also name this small key value pair as an own individual dictionary and place it into one. Here I have a family with three childs named Emil, Tobias, and Linus. Okay, so there is child 1, child 2, and child 3. The three child dictionaries are into the family dictionary or the parent dictionary. You can also create three individual dictionaries and then finally merge up into one parent dictionary. This is also one of the possible ways. Okay, this is some another way to create a dictionary. Instead of writing the colon and double inverted commas, you can write attribute name, its value, attribute name its value, and attribute name its value. This is also another way for creating a dictionary. Note that keywords are not string literals, they are used as equals rather than the colon symbol for assignment. Okay, great. Now we will move towards functions in Python. So as we discussed earlier, functions are a kind of person. They've been assigned some specific tasks to do. It's a programming logic given to them, and they will perform them whenever we call them. Okay, so here I have declared a function, but as I have not called them, it won't go for anything. Once I remove this comment, I have called them, it will do some function for me. Similarly, the same thing, I have called that function, it will print some hello from a function for me. Okay, now you can give some values to that function, like I have given some string values as my first name, and it will add the surname to it. It is doing some specific task for me. More times I would call that function, more times it will work for me. Okay, I can give in one or more attributes to that function. It will do that for me. If I don't know the number of attributes, but I know the type of that attribute that I am going to provide strings, I can write star kids, that is star. It will just automatically manage as per the number of my attributes. If I provide one attribute, it will take one. If I provide two attributes, it will take two and manipulate with it. Okay, you can provide two or more or n number of attributes will get associated with one another. If you have just not maintained any order, you can also give it as child 1 will be associated with Emil, child 2 as Tobias, and child 3 as Linus. Okay, you can also give like dictionaries also. If you don't know this way, you can also go for double star, and that will work for you fine. Okay, now, you can also provide default values to the every parameters given in the function. For example, what happen I do not give a parameter, or I forget to give you a parameter. The function won't abruptly give an error. It will use that default value and perform it for us. So for Sweden, India, I have not given anything, so it will take Norway as default and it will run this function. Okay, you can also provide lists, tuples, and everything to that function for printing this thing. Here I have used this, given this list, and I have just used for printing them. So simply it will just print the elements of the list for me. Okay, I can use for some mathematical calculations to multiply some numbers with it. This is just an idea, an overview of how you can use functions more or less. Okay, you can also create an empty function by this. You will notice one thing. We have three intended things, that is if else block, loops, and functions. Functions are to be maintained proper indentation, and functions are needed to be called with their parameters in order to get them executed. Okay, so now let's move towards recursion. Recursion is a quite a little bit complex topic, but we will just understand in few lines of code with a simpler idea. Recursion is the same function while executing its statements, it calls itself. So it goes into itself, performs its operation, there must be a terminating point, it will come back, and come back to that own thing. It's like going into, if I enter USA, I enter New York, I enter city, I enter downtown, and come back from USA to some another country. It's like going to the deepest point and coming out of it. Okay, so here is just a simple example of recursion. It will just print me 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21 as I have provided for recursion of 6. Okay, so now we'll see for arrays. Arrays are some kind of data structures. We're generally using arrays in different programming languages like C, C++, JavaScript, many more. So arrays are just a kind of list, and they have almost similar functionalities. But list is the most flexible that you can use in Python. Okay, that's my own opinion. You can also change it as per your convenience, but this is arrays. Arrays are denoted by square brackets and the values are associated with them. You can fetch some individual values, you can create variables, and out of which you can create an array of them. Okay, so you can find the length of that array by using the length function. You can iterate through the elements using the int function. You can also print the elements of an array. You can append the element. Appended would be stored at the last point. You can pop, the index must be given, or else if you want to remove things, you need to give the value. Okay, here I've just popped things off. So I need to just remove that way. Okay. Okay, let's just remove things from the list. Okay, now the last thing that you need to know is user input. User input means whenever you are doing some program, you need to give some values at the runtime. As a simple single programmer, you are yourself a user and yourself a programmer. But what happens then you are going to present something to some another person, your mom and dad or some your brother or sister, and you've just written a program for squaring two numbers or something else. So what you will do, you will ask them to enter some value and it will dynamically create and answer the question of that particular thing. So you need to take input from the user. Okay, the standard input function will take input from the user. It will hold the screen for until and unless the user will enter something, and it will perform certain operations and the code will end. Okay, input function is used to take input from the user. Okay, but the input function will always take things in a string format. If you need to use it in some another format, you need to typecast that string into integer or something else. Okay, here I have just taken my username and I have greeted myself with welcome. Okay, so I will get welcome Tirth. Okay, alright. What if I just use for squaring things up? So I need to just enter some value, let's say 5, I will get 25. But if I don't write this 20 integers, what I will get, I will get 5 times 5 or something. An error will be given in here. I think it will be an error, absolutely, it will be an error for me. And if I enter some string like Raj, it will be printed 5 times. No, this is also not true. Raj cannot be multiplied with Raj. Absolutely. So you need to convert it into integers. Just place it an integer value. It will convert the value from integers. Okay. And after that you will get the values done. Alright. So up till now we have learned the basics of Python programming language, and you are ready to go on into your field, go on to another milestone of your Python learning. Okay, so now we're going into our special topic of what next. You've just seen this thing. What next? What after learning basic Python? See, after learning Python programming language, you need to decide your scope of Python. You need to see yourself as what you want to become in the future. Also, you just learned basic Python programming. I will recommend you to go and explore the data structures. Go for some object-oriented things, and then you will get a profound knowledge of Python programming. After that, your scope must be decided that I need to go into this field of Python. Python has many applications: machine learning, artificial intelligence, IoT, data science, computer vision, web development, various automation, analytics, many more. It is many, it would say many, scientific programming and many more. You have to decide yourself where I want to see myself in the next future. So aspirate, for example, if want someone to use in artificial intelligence or machine learning, they could go for learning libraries like Keras, TensorFlow, and OpenCV, and many more. If you go for data science, you should learn about NumPy, SciPy, Matplotlib, pandas, and many more. If you want to go for creative UI interface designer, you should go for Tkinter, Flask, Spark, or many more. If you're going to go for web development, you can go for Django or Flask or something. So this is the way how you work. So whenever you have learned Python, its syntax, its twists and turns, by playing with it, now it's your time to decide what you could be going to do in the future with the knowledge of Python. So it's upon you how you go your pathway. So in the next upcoming videos, we are going to make lectures on pathways of Python. It will include pathway for machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science, what all things you need to know about it, and how we'll be there. So stay tuned and wait for our next video. Up till then, thank you very much and welcome.
At the end of video, I would like to thank you for giving your precious time. Like and share our video on YouTube, and also do subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss any important video and any powerful project. We are also having Instagram page and Facebook page. You can also follow that for more updates. The codes, images and all other data used in this video are available on the GitHub. The link of GitHub repository is given in the description, so please do find and practice at your home. If you find any error and any difficulty in executing this project, so you can join our WhatsApp group and post your error. We would like to help you there, and by joining our WhatsApp group, you will become a part of PyPower community. Thank you. Have a good day.